pod bay doors, please, Hal.
The Book of Boba Fett is open. Welcome once again. I'm your host, Jerry Dean Roberts of ArmchairCinema.com and also ArmchairOscars.com. Seated here with my favorite scum and villainy, the critic, dare I say legend, from TalkMovie.com, Mr. Doug Haller. How the heck are you today, sir?
Chapter 1, Boba Fett's very bad, awful, no good, very bad day. Wow.
He has a day in this movie that sucks.
Oof.
It ends with water. I mean,
It does. It does.
we're talking about the Book of Boba Fett. Not an original idea to have chapters about the Book of Boba Fett because I know everybody else is doing this. But hey, there's no reason we can't dip our hands into it. Besides that, we did that with the last season of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But you should know, if you're listening to this 10 years from now, we actually have not seen anything but the pilot episode.
Right, that's all
And
that's been.
it's all that's been dropped. So today we're going to talk a little bit about part 1, Stranger in a Strange Land, or as we call it, Boba Fett's no good, very bad, horrible, no good, very bad day.
Because boy howdy. Oof. Uh,
This is a very slim episode, I noticed, because they're trying to fit 2 stories into this, but because either one of them on their own wouldn't fit a whole episode,
right.
and you've got a lot of information you've got to impart. And it starts with basically, well, how the heck did he get out of that pit?
Right.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Which we get to see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% sure if he killed the Sarlacc or what. Because if you look when he comes out of the hole,
Mm-hmm.
he's not coming out of the gullet. He's coming out adjacent.
Yeah, well, he
And
burned a hole in it.
right, and
Yeah.
um there's a dead tentacle
Mm-hmm.
sticking out.
I
So
don't think he
uh,
killed it. I think he just found another way out.
maybe that was just dead because I think it's the one that latched onto Lando that Han shot.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it
Right.
just detached it and
And
got
it's
rid of it.
some time later. I want to say it's some years later because the skiff is not smoking.
You know what? I was curious about that myself because he there's no air down there. It does keep you alive though, I guess, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What I've read of a Sarlacc pit is
Because he
that it
borrows the air from the dead stormtrooper.
right, but the actual Sarlacc, whatever it does, you know how it digests you slowly over
Mm-hmm.
the period of 1,000 years.
Right.
Well, evidently, it pumps you full of drugs and food and basically keeps you alive for that entire 1,000 years, whether that's your lifespan or not.
Yeah, and you get to witness all of it.
Oh yeah, you get to sit through all of it until you just
Mm-hmm.
finally probably die. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, however, maybe he just woke up because he's stronger than other people that went down there,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know what it might have been, or maybe he's one of the few that was actually alive when he went in.
Mm-hmm.
um,
I don't know when they dropped the stormtrooper in here.
yeah, I was wondering that myself. Like, why is there a stormtrooper all the way out here and that far up? Like,
Yeah.
unless the Empire came and investigated the skiff Jabba being
Well, I mean,
killed.
the Empire was there looking for the droids, and it may have been part of an attachment that they just accidentally dropped into the Sarlacc.
True, 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 true. It could have been there for a long time. Yeah.
Um, I like that they get that out of the way immediately because that's the first question we're going to have.
Right,
You know,
right.
that's the very first
And
question.
and Favreau knows that, so he's just like, here,
Yeah, yeah,
let's just get this out of the way, and
right,
then we can move on.
right. Well, whatever the Sarlacc has done to him, the Bacta tank is supposed to be fixing it. He's in this like iron lung kind of thing, this contraption, and I guess it's supposed to be maybe it liquefied some of his organs, something.
Well, I think 'cause this now the Bacta tank is, 5 years later. This is now after his encounter with Dinjar and Grogu
Right.
and all that. So I'm my thought was that although he didn't have um, growth acceleration
Hmm.
put into his genetic makeup, he's still a clone,
Right.
and
Which is brilliant
clone
story wise because you can bring back the same actor.
right, uh, but the way that the Kaminoans cloned, I don't think that they were supposed to be regular lifespan living beings. Like he might be breaking down, and the Bacta
Hmm.
might be helping to restructure him or keep him from aging weirdly or breaking down
Hmm.
uh, from being artificially created. Uh,
And they were created rather quickly, you
well,
know,
I mean, 10
in that
years.
artificial, yeah, in 10 years. But I think he probably brought the Bacta tank with him because this has been what he's been
That's
uh,
possible too.
probably probably been laying in it,
Well,
you
where
know,
would he have
throughout the
gotten it
last
though?
5 years. I don't know. We probably bought it somewhere, but I it's kind of shitty though that actually he gets out of the Sarlacc pit, and the first thing that happens is somebody comes along
The Jawas come
and they
along and strip him of his armor and everything.
strip him of his armor. Yeah,
The one thing
and
that might keep him alive out in the desert.
right.
uh,
But I
and
mean, they left him as long johns. I mean,
right,
there's at
well,
least that.
and then the second thing that happens to him is he's taken prisoner by Tuskens.
Yeah. Which by the way, there's some beautiful imagery in this. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when they're coming across the sand in the in silhouette, that is absolutely gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Riding single
I
fire
love
file to hide their numbers.
I love this in the Favreau Filoni universe, their version of it, that they're trying to build the Tuscans, but also build them as comedy relief.
Yeah, I do like that they're making them into characters, into people instead of just monsters that showed up and screamed and
It's kind of what I think a little bit of what George was trying to do in the prequels, but didn't really get. It wasn't really able to get to.
right.
But
There was a comic. It was a Dark Horse comic
of course,
set. So this it's Legends, but um, it was set during the prequels, and a Jedi, something happened that he wound up leaving the Order
mhm,
and becoming one of the Tuscans. Married a Tuscan woman, never saw her face. Had a Tuscan child, never saw his face, and then
mhm,
died. The kid, the half Tuscan, half human, uh, was also force sensitive, so they took him in to the temple to train him.
yeah.
So, but he had the mask on and everything. So maybe they're leading into some Tuscans can speak basic, and we'll get to see some other kind of use for the Tuscans.
That is a weird thing because Some of them can speak their native language, and others speak English very clearly. You notice when they're doing all the tributes,
Mm-hmm.
the Aqualish comes in, he speaks Aqualish.
Mm-hmm.
But then the Trandoshan comes in, he speaks perfect English. It's a weird thing. It's
Well, it's kind of like Chewbacca understands, Wookiees understand Basic, but
but he doesn't speak it.
he can't because of the way that their vocal cords and mouth and
Mm.
everything. It's just they cannot make themselves make the words. Um,
Apparently,
Same thing.
Trandoshans can.
Trandoshans can, but Aqualesh can't, and a lot of the ones that don't have a visible moving mouth
Mm.
usually
Like the Aqualish.
will only speak their regular tongue. Some of them can learn, but most of them can't do it because they just can't
Right.
form any of the words. Uh, but I believe I saw somewhere in Star Wars that a universal translator does actually exist.
It does.
I
Yeah.
don't think
It
that
does.
they're readily used. I don't think they're readily
Mm.
available, but they do exist
Yeah, they kind of lean on it in Star Trek
a lot.
a lot. They don't lean on it so much in Star Wars.
No, they just kind of make everybody have to learn languages.
Right.
You know.
I like the inclusion of this Tuscan ritual where they have to go out, they have to send their young person out to retrieve whatever, and he ends up having to bring back the head of this weird Ray
Oh,
Harryhausen looking creature.
I thought no, they were just out there to dig for those little water bugs. I think they
But he brought it.
accidentally stumbled upon the.
I thought that's why he was out there,
I don't think so. He was out there to dig for water. I think.
because it looked like, because I was wondering, why are they coming up on this farm, this moisture farm? I guess they just happen to be there. With this faction that's scavenging and leaving and tagging
Hmm.
where they've been. And this
Oh,
show is,
that
there's a
wasn't
lot of stuff.
Tuscans. That wasn't Tuscans.
Yeah, I know.
Did you notice what they drew?
What was that?
A J and an L. Jabba lives.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, I
J
didn't
and an
notice that.
L, and I think it stands for Jabba lives because it looks like they were um, former workers for him,
Mm,
um, minions, I guess. And it was probably before Bib Fortuna took all the way over. So maybe this
mm,
was pretty quick after.
yeah,
Well, there was still like that big power vacuum and everything, but it still could have been maybe a few days.
I want to say it's probably a year. It's there's
Took
some
him a
time
really
going.
long time to get out of there then. Or
Yeah,
however long
I
they had him in the Tuscan camp, which I don't think that they would have had him for that long there, a couple months, maybe at
no.
most. Um,
Well, in the immediate, I like the idea of him taking over him taking over Jabba's court, because it's kind of a Vito Corleone thing
yeah.
where he's not ruling with fear, he's trying to rule with respect. And this is an environment in which that's everybody's telling him that's generally a very bad idea.
Or, nobody's ever tried it before, so they're just like, do what worked because that's what everybody's used to.
Right.
And they won't
Two things
misconstrue it as weak if you just do what they always do.
two things that come up. Um, and again, we have not seen the other episodes. But there's two things that come up. One is he's holding court with all of these people who come through with tributes.
Mhm.
Um, one of them is Doc Stassi, the Trandoshan.
Mm-hmm.
That's Robert Rodriguez, by the way.
Hmm.
Um, this major domo that comes through.
The Twi'lek.
Um, yeah, you could tell this is a battle to come because
This is that whole between the mayor and Boba Fett is going to be fascinating to watch play out. Oh,
Yeah,
that's just going to be because I really wonder what this mayor thinks he's going to be able to do.
yeah.
Um, sure, it's not
I didn't know
Java,
these
but
towns had mayors.
I kind of assumed that there was some kind of local government,
Mhm.
but um, not a
Was it Mozespa?
planetary government, maybe.
Yeah. What is it,
Or
Mozespa?
yeah, which is like that. That makes Jabba's palace a lot farther away from Luke's homestead than I
Yeah,
thought it was.
yeah.
Because Mos Eisley, Mos Espa's on the complete other side of the planet.
Well, it's not far from where Ben lived. The
Mm-hmm.
palace is not far from where Ben lived. It's just down the road, actually. Because in Jedi, at the beginning of Jedi, Luke's putting his lightsaber together, and he sends the droids out, and it's just down the road.
Well, we see them walking down the road. We don't know how long they've been walking.
Right.
Bear that in mind too. I don't think it was a short hop. I don't think Obi-Wan was just like hanging out, waving at Jabba, watering the lawn, and
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I think it's in the vicinity. The other
well,
thing that comes up,
wasn't Ben was in the Jundland Wastes, wasn't he?
I thought they both were.
I don't remember where Jabba's palace is exactly. I would need a map,
Um,
which I have, but I won't dig out now.
the other thing that comes up is this. What's this, Madam Quip, Madam Quip, the Twi'lek,
Mm-hmm.
played by Jennifer Beals,
Yeah.
who I'm thinking that's kind of a big star to just have this one this one cameo. So I'm thinking she probably will be back.
We'll find out later if she is a
Yeah,
maniac on the floor.
right. We will. Yes. Um, speaking of which, these two Gomorian guards, I love these guys.
They were so, I think along with the Mandalorian too, I think they're trying to make Gamorrean guards feared comic relief
Mhm,
because they're funny.
mhm.
Even when they were
They
fighting
can
each other
also.
in the season premiere of season 2 for the
Mhm,
Mandalorian, when they it was that Gamorrean fight
mhm.
and
Oh yeah, the
that was funny just to watch them the way that they
beat the
interacted
crap
and
out of each other.
right and then when the one got shot and the other one was just like oh, oh, oh.
Gamorrean MMA
Yeah.
or
um,
UFC.
I've also noticed that these Gamorreans are much slimmer than the
I was just
ones
about to say that. I
that
noticed they're a little smaller.
were guarding Jabba before.
You know, one thing I love about this, and I noted this in The Mandalorian too, is that Favreau and Filoni know this universe
Oh
like the
yeah,
back of their
oh
hand.
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, they know these characters. They know the side and ancillary characters very, very well. And they're willing to put them into these shows without shoving your face into them,
Hmm.
because a lot of creative people in this would say, okay, let's point to this because, we've got to see this. No, they just kind of put them in the scene and let you figure it out.
Hmm.
And they don't tell you where they come from.
Right, like the in the post credit sequence that set up the Book of Boba Fett at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the Mandalorian season 2.
Mm-hmm.
You see that mechanical spider
Mm-hmm.
walking by. There's
The
a whole
Bomar monk.
story with
Yeah.
those. Yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
like monks that had their brains taken out and put into those mechanical spiders, and it used to be their monastery, and Jabba took it
Mm-hmm.
over, and
Well,
there it
also,
was.
I mean, this droid that's
Yeah,
introducing the
yeah.
tribute.
He was the torture droid
Um,
in
this is
Jedi.
8D8.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's
I had a toy of
it.
him.
I did too. I did too. But it's interesting because they did that in the Mandalorian because they introduced EV-99, but they don't have to tell you where they came from.
Right, right, right,
So
right.
if you're not familiar with it, it's not really going to matter if you don't know where that character came
Hmm.
from.
And
Um,
the dealer droid at the casino
mhm,
um, was identical to the shuttle pilots that they had in Rebels.
right, right.
If you look back, that's the same kind of
Um,
droid.
but and you notice, and also you notice they keep a consistency with the alien life forms.
Hmm.
It's not like Star Trek where every time you turn around, there's a different alien there.
Right.
Um,
They know what species is primarily where, how you're going to
mm,
see them, when you're going to see them. You know, if they usually travel together or if it's usually
mm,
one or two by themselves. You know,
right.
um, kind of like the Quarren in
Yeah.
you. I think there was you saw one of them once in Return
Hmm.
of the Jedi,
Yeah.
and you
Mhm.
didn't really see them again until Clone Wars.
Right.
Um, to have a whole
Or
bunch of them
you'll
and oh,
see.
they're my brothers and they're squid-like creatures, so they
Right.
probably lay like 1,000 eggs and their family is massive.
So you'll see
It's
like
just
the
funny.
Quarren or the Aqualish or the an Ithorian, which in one of the previews is coming up,
Hmm.
or the just all these or the Rhodians,
Yeah.
whatever. It's you notice they're creating this world that if you are familiar with as familiar with Star Wars as we are, um, they know you're familiar with this,
Hmm.
and it populates the world with things that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
I think in one of the behind the scenes they were talking about in Mandalorian, they borrowed a lot of stuff from a lot of different
Oh
sources,
yeah.
from the movies, from television, from the holiday special.
Hmm.
They borrowed so many
From
things.
Legends, they started
Right.
pulling Legends. Uh,
From the toy line.
yeah.
That tanker, that troop tanker that's in Mandalorian came from the Kenner line. And it wasn't in any of the movies.
It wasn't in the movies, but it
And
was in Rebels.
it wasn't Rebels, but it wasn't in the movies because it was released as a toy back in the day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, it was released back when Star Wars came out.
Hmm.
But then it shows up in Mandalorian. It shows up in Rebels, and I'm thinking, oh boy, somebody's thinking.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Somebody's thinking about all this. I love this stuff.
Mhm.
This is a Star Wars lover's dream.
Yeah.
To have somebody who is creating this stuff and was sitting on the floor just as we were playing with their Star Wars toys as kids.
Mhm.
And now they've grown up and they've been given the keys to the kingdom, so to speak.
Mhm.
And it's wonderful because it's very creative and it's continuing the universe. My question is this a spin-off of a spin-off? I can't really tell. It's like,
Well, it's
not that it matters, but I was just thinking
I
about
wouldn't
that this
really
morning.
call it a spin-off um because the character already existed before
Mhm,
Mandalorian. The episodes that he was in, I would say would maybe be like kind of a backdoor pilot
mhm.
to establish this character now with Tamora Morrison.
Because Mando's not really a spin-off.
No, it's another story within the universe.
Right.
And I wouldn't really call this a spin-off either. It's a continuation. It's kind of a
Mhm,
it's a sequel series that I guess yeah, it's a spin-off.
mhm.
In its way, it's also a spin-off from the movies, but it's continuing a story that was started in The Mandalorian. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you had to know that um, George Jefferson showed up on All in the Family to understand exactly what was going on in the Jeffersons.
Mhm.
and how their situation changed from one show to the other. So
Right.
I think, yeah, I think you could call this a spin-off.
Mm.
So I just talked
You notice we're
myself
not.
out of my original decision.
You notice we're not really talking about the story because there isn't. There really isn't much of one.
It's
It's
just
all
it's
establishment
yeah, it's just filling in. It's
in a
a
very entertaining
This is
way.
the baseline.
Mm.
This is the base read, and then I think things are about to go off from episode
Hmm.
2 on, because there's probably only what 6 or 8 episodes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, isn't Mando's usually only about 6 or 8?
It's usually about 8 episodes. Yeah, yeah. I guess you're right. Um, because I'm thinking of when Bad Batch came out, because Bad Batch was 16 episodes. But that's an
Animated.
animated show.
Yeah.
But I really did enjoy this first episode.
Yeah, I
It's
did too.
good. It's still you can feel that you're still in the world of the Mandalorian.
Hmm.
Um, it does feel like it's kind of in the neighborhood.
Hmm.
Um, I'm fascinated to see where it goes.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to it. Um,
Mm,
I think that about wraps it up here for this
yep.
little mini episode, Book of Boba Fett mini episode. You can
Mm,
find all of our full episodes and our mini episodes at the podbaydorspodcast.wordpress.com. You can follow us on Twitter at pod_bay. Copy and paste that onto Patreon. You can listen to us on iTunes and YouTube. Hit the like, subscribe, and notifications. For all of that, we thank you so very much for joining us, and the Pod Bay doors and the Book of Boba Fett are now, for now, closed.
The mission has been completed.